September 6th, 1996, 11:42 p.m., Las Vegas, Nevada. Tupac Shakur had exactly 13 hours left to live, but he didn't know that. Nobody knew that. What he did know was this. There was a 19-year-old kid sitting in a jail cell 40 miles away who needed to hear something important, something that couldn't wait. So at midnight, when most people were heading to bed, Tupac made a phone call that would change that kid's life forever. And 24 hours later, Tupac would be gone, shot 4 times while sitting in a BMW at a Las Vegas intersection. But before the bullets, before the chaos, before the tragedy that would define hip-hop history, there was a conversation, a lesson, a moment of grace that almost nobody knows about. If you want to discover the untold stories behind music's most powerful moments, subscribe now. Hit that notification bell, because what you're about to hear is the story of Tupac's final act of mentorship and the young man whose life he saved without even knowing it.
The Last Night in Vegas. September 6th, 1996, 8:42 p.m., MGM Grand Hotel, Las Vegas. Tupac Shakur walked through the MGM Grand lobby like he owned the place. Black vest, no shirt underneath, gold chains catching the casino lights. Suge Knight beside him, massive and intimidating. The Death Row Records entourage following behind like a small army. They'd just watched Mike Tyson knock out Bruce Seldon in 109 seconds. The whole arena had erupted. Tupac was pumped, energized, riding high on adrenaline and success. His double album, All Eyes on Me, had sold 5 million copies. He was on top of the world, untouchable, invincible. Or so he thought. But as Tupac walked through that casino, something else was on his mind, something that had been bothering him all day. A letter, a handwritten letter from a kid in jail. The letter had arrived at Death Row Records 3 days earlier, forwarded from one of Tupac's community outreach programs. It was written on prison stationery, the handwriting shaky, desperate. Dear Tupac, my name is Marcus Webb. I'm 19 years old, and I'm in Clark County Detention Center, facing 15 years for armed robbery. I didn't shoot nobody, but I was there, so they charging me like I did. I grew up listening to your music. Keep Your Head Up got me through my mama dying. Dear Mama made me understand her better, even after she was gone. But I messed up. I made bad choices, and now I'm here, and I don't know what to do. I know you were locked up before. I know you came out and made something of yourself. I just need to know how. How did you not let prison kill your spirit? You probably won't read this. You probably get 1 million letters. But if you do read it, just know that your words matter. They matter to kids like me who got nobody else telling us we can be something. Respectfully, Marcus Webb. Inmate 8473922. Tupac had read that letter 3 times, and each time he saw himself, saw the kid he used to be, saw the path he almost took that would have ended with him dead or in prison forever. In the MGM Grand lobby, Tupac pulled out his phone, one of those chunky 1990s cell phones that weighed a pound. "Yo, I need you to do something for me," Tupac said to Molly, one of his assistants. That kid who wrote me from Clark County Jail, Marcus Webb. I need to talk to him. Pac, we got the club after this, Shug said, checking his watch. We're already running late. I know, but this kid needs to hear from me tonight. Why tonight? Shug asked. Write him back next week. Tupac shook his head. Nah, it's got to be tonight. I can feel it. If I don't reach out now, I might not get another chance. The words would turn out to be more prophetic than anyone realized. The Kid in Cell Block C. September 6, 1996, 11:15 p.m. Clark County Detention Center. Marcus Webb sat on his bunk, staring at the concrete wall of his cell. Cell Block C, maximum security. The place where they put kids they'd decided were beyond saving. Marcus was 19 years old, but he looked older. Prison does that. Fear does that. Realizing you're probably going to spend the next 15 years in a cage does that. 3 months earlier, Marcus had made the worst decision of his life. His cousin Jerome had shown up at his apartment with a plan. Rob a convenience store, quick cash, in and out. Marcus had said no. He'd been trying to stay clean, trying to stay out of trouble. His mother had died 2 years earlier from cancer, and her last words to him were, "Baby, promise me you'll be better than this neighborhood. Promise me you'll make something of yourself." He'd promised, but promises are hard to keep when you're 19, broke and angry at the world. So when Jerome showed up that night, when Jerome said, "Just be the lookout, you don't even have to go inside," Marcus said yes. And Jerome went into that store with a gun, and the clerk panicked and hit the silent alarm, and Jerome fired a shot, not at anyone, just at the ceiling, trying to scare everyone. But Nevada law doesn't care about intentions. Nevada law says if you're part of an armed robbery and a gun goes off, you're guilty of attempted murder, all of you, even the lookout. So Marcus Webb, who'd never fired a gun, who'd never even held a gun, was facing 15 years in prison. His public defender had been blunt. Take the plea deal. 12 years, you'll be out in 8 with good behavior. If you go to trial, they'll throw away the key. Marcus had 3 days to decide. And in those 3 days, all he could think about was his mother, about that promise, about how he'd failed her. That's when he'd written the letter to Tupac. He didn't expect a response. Famous people don't write back to inmates. But writing it had felt like something. Like maybe if he put his pain on paper, it would hurt less. Now, 3 days later, Marcus sat on his bunk, staring at nothing. A corrections officer appeared at his cell door. "Webb, you got a phone or call?" Marcus looked up, confused. "What? Who's calling me at 11 p.m.? Hell if I know, but somebody pulled some strings to get this approved. You got 5 minutes. Let's go." Marcus followed the officer to the phone bank, a row of payphones in a supervised hallway. The officer pointed to phone number 3. "Make it quick." Marcus picked up the receiver. "Hello? Marcus Webb?" The voice on the other end was unmistakable. Marcus had heard it 1,000 times on records, on MTV, in his headphones late at night when he couldn't sleep. "This is Tupac." Marcus's legs almost gave out. "What? No, this is a joke. Who is this really?" "Man, I'm telling you, it's Tupac. I got your letter, and I wanted to talk to you before, well, I just wanted to talk to you, now." Marcus gripped the phone so hard his knuckles went white. You actually read my letter?" "Yeah, man, I read it, and I gotta tell you something important. You listening?" "Yes, sir."
I'm listening. Don't call me sir. I'm just Pac. And here's what I need you to understand, Marcus. You're not done. You hear me? You think this is the end of your story, but it's not. This is just a chapter, a hard chapter, but you can write the next one different. Marcus felt tears coming. He blinked them back. You don't cry in jail, not where other inmates can see. I'm facing 15 years, Marcus said, his voice cracking. I'm 19. By the time I get out, I'll be in my 30s. My life is over. Your life ain't over until you stop fighting, Tupac said firmly. Listen to me. I did time. I did months in Rikers and Clinton, and I'm not going to lie to you. Prison will test you. It'll try to break you. But you know what I learned? What? Prison is just a place. It can't touch what's inside here, Tupac tapped, even though Marcus couldn't see him. Your mind, your spirit, your purpose. They can lock up your body, but they can't lock up who you are unless you let them.
The lesson. Marcus sat down on the floor, his back against the wall, phone pressed to his ear. The corrections officer was watching, but Marcus didn't care. This moment was everything. I read your letter, Tupac continued, and you know what stood out to me? You said you were there for the robbery, but you didn't pull the trigger. You said you made bad choices. That's important, man, because most people in your position would be saying, it wasn't my fault, I'm innocent, the system screwed me. But you're taking responsibility. That's growth, that's maturity. But I still messed up, Marcus said. I still broke my promise to my mama. Yeah, you did, Tupac said bluntly. And that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for a long time. But your mama, she didn't want perfection from you. She wanted you to try. She wanted you to be better than your circumstances. And you know what? You still can be. How? From prison? Marcus, listen to me. Some of the most important learning I ever did was in prison. Because when you're locked up, you got two choices. You can let it make you harder, meaner, more bitter, or you can let it teach you something. You can read, you can study, you can work on yourself. You can figure out who Marcus Webb really is underneath all the pain and the anger and the bad decisions. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I don't even know who I am anymore. That's okay. Most people don't. But you got time now. Time to figure it out. Time to read books, write, think. You ever read Malcolm X's autobiography? No. Get it. Read it. Malcolm was in prison when he transformed himself. He went in as a criminal and came out as a revolutionary. Not because prison fixed him, because he fixed himself while he was there. You understand? I think so. Marcus, I'ma tell you something else, Tupac said, his voice getting quieter, more serious. Life is short, man, shorter than you think. We think we got all this time, but we don't. So every day you're breathing, every day you're alive, that's a chance to be better than you were yesterday. Even if you're in a cell, even if you're facing years, you're still alive. You still got a voice. You still got a purpose. There was something in Tupac's voice, an urgency, an intensity that Marcus couldn't quite place. Like Tupac wasn't just talking to Marcus, like he was talking to himself too. What's my purpose? Marcus asked. I don't know. That's for you to figure out. But I'll tell you this, your mama wanted you to be something. So be something. Maybe you become a writer. Maybe you become a counselor who helps other kids not make your mistakes. Maybe you become a teacher, a mentor, a voice for people who don't have one. But you gotta survive first. You gotta make it through this. Can you do that? I don't know. Yeah, you do. You wrote me that letter because part of you still believes you can make it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached out.
you would have just given up, but you didn't. That means you're a fighter, so fight. The corrections officer tapped his watch. 1 minute, Webb. I gotta go soon, Marcus said. All right, listen, one more thing. When you get out, and you will get out, I want you to do something for me. What? Help somebody else. Find some kid who's where you are right now, lost, scared, making bad choices, and you tell them what I'm telling you. Your life ain't over. You can come back from this. Be that person for somebody else. Promise me. Marcus nodded, even though Tupac couldn't see him. I promise. Good. Now keep your head up, Marcus. Stay strong. Read, learn, grow, and remember, they can lock your body up, but your mind is free. Don't ever forget that. Thank you, Marcus said, his voice breaking. Thank you for calling. You didn't have to. Yeah, I did. We gotta look out for each other, man. That's what this is about. All right, stay up. Stay up, Marcus repeated. The line went dead. Marcus sat there holding the phone for a long moment, even after the dial tone started buzzing. The corrections officer had to come over and take the receiver from him. Time's up, Webb. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. Time's up. He walked back to his cell in a daze. His cellmate, an older guy named Deshawn, looked at him. You good, young blood? Tupac just called me, Marcus said, still not quite believing it. Deshawn laughed. Yeah, and Biggie's going to bring you breakfast tomorrow. I'm serious. Tupac Shakur just called me. He read my letter. He told me. Marcus sat on his bunk, staring at his hands. He told me I can still make something of myself, even from here. Deshawn studied him for a moment. You believe him? Marcus thought about it, about his mother's promise, about Tupac's words, about the fact that one of the most famous rappers in the world had taken time out of his night to call a nobody kid in a Nevada jail cell. Yeah, Marcus said finally. Yeah, I think I do.
11:15 p.m. The Drive. September 6, 1996, 11:15 p.m. Tupac hung up the phone and climbed into the passenger seat of Suge Knight's black BMW 750. The convoy of cars filled with Death Row Records crew was heading to Club 662, a nightclub Suge owned. You good? Suge asked, pulling out into Las Vegas traffic. Yeah, Tupac said, staring out the window at the bright lights of the Strip. I'm good, just did something important. What, talk to that kid in jail? Yeah. Why'd that matter so much to you? Tupac was quiet for a moment. Because that could have been me, man, if things had gone different. If I'd made one or two worse choices, I'd be in that cell instead of this car. Suge nodded. You think you got through to him? I hope so. Sometimes all a kid needs is for somebody to tell them they matter, that their life means something. I just wanted him to hear that before... Tupac trailed off. Before what? Tupac shook his head. Nothing, just wanted him to hear it. They drove in silence for a few minutes. The Vegas night was warm, windows down, music playing low. Tupac looked out at the city, the casinos, the crowds, the excess. You ever think about legacy? Tupac asked suddenly. What kind of question is that? Like what you leave behind when you're gone, what people remember. Suge glanced at him. Why you talking like that? I don't know, just thinking. I want people to remember that I cared, you know? That I wasn't just about the music and the money and the beef. I want them to know I tried to help people. They'll remember, Pac, trust me. At 11:15 p.m., Suge's BMW stopped at a red light at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Covell Lane. A white Cadillac pulled up beside them, and in 13 seconds, everything would change forever. The shooting. The white Cadillac's rear window rolled down. A hand appeared holding a .40 caliber Glock, and before Tupac could react,
before Suge could hit the gas, before anyone could do anything, 4 shots. The first bullet hit Tupac's right lung. The second hit his right hand. The third hit his pelvis. The fourth hit his right thigh. The BMW swerved violently. Suge was hit with shrapnel from the 4th bullet, but kept driving, running red lights, trying to get away from the shooter. Tupac was slumped in the passenger seat, bleeding, conscious but in shock. "Pac, stay with me," Suge was screaming. "Stay with me." Tupac tried to speak, but blood was filling his lungs. Police pulled them over 3 blocks away. Paramedics arrived. They loaded Tupac onto a stretcher, into an ambulance. University Medical Center. Emergency surgery. Doctors working frantically. But the damage was catastrophic. The bullet in his lung had punctured it completely. He was bleeding internally. His body was shutting down. For 6 days, Tupac Shakur fought for his life in that hospital bed. Machines breathing for him. Doctors doing everything they could. But on September 13th, 1996, at 4:03 p.m., Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead. He was 25 years old. The news reaches Cell Block C. September 14th, 1996, 6:30 a.m., Clark County Detention Center. Marcus Webb woke to chaos in the jail. Inmates were yelling. Guards were trying to maintain order. Something had happened. "What's going on?" Marcus asked his cellmate. Deshawn's face was grim. "Turn on the TV." Marcus walked to the small television mounted in the corner of the common area. CNN was on, and the headline said everything. Tupac Shakur dead at 25, shot in drive-by shooting. Marcus stopped breathing. No. The news anchor was talking about the shooting, about the hospital, about how Tupac had died the day before after fighting for his life for 6 days. Marcus counted backward. The shooting happened September 6th, around 11:15 p.m. 15 minutes after Tupac had called him. Marcus fell to his knees in the middle of the common area. Other inmates stared, but he didn't care. He was crying, deep, body-shaking sobs. Tupac had called him, had taken time out of his last night alive to talk to a nobody kid in a jail cell, had given him hope, had told him his life wasn't over. And then, 15 minutes later, Tupac's life was over. Deshawn helped Marcus back to their cell. "You all right, young blood?" "He called me hours before he died. He used his last night to talk to me. Why would he do that?" "Because that's who he was," Deshawn said quietly. "Pac always looked out for people, especially young brothers who were struggling. He saw himself in you." Marcus sat on his bunk, staring at the wall, and he made a decision. Tupac's last words to him had been, "When you get out, help somebody else." Marcus was going to make sure those weren't just words.
The Transformation. September 1996, August 2004, Clark County Detention Center, Ely State Prison. Marcus Webb took the plea deal. 12 years, eligible for parole in 8. But instead of letting prison destroy him, Marcus did exactly what Tupac had told him to do. He used the time to rebuild himself. He got his GED in 6 months. He started reading everything he could get his hands on. Malcolm X's autobiography, as Tupac had recommended, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, books on psychology, sociology, criminal justice reform. He joined the prison education program and started taking college courses through correspondence. He wrote letters to other young inmates, essays about his experience, poetry about his mother, about regret, about redemption. Other inmates started coming to him for advice, young guys who'd made similar mistakes. Marcus would tell them the same thing Tupac told him: your life ain't over, you can come back from this. In 2001, Marcus started a writing workshop in prison, teaching other inmates how to express themselves through words instead of violence. By 2003, Marcus had earned an associate's degree in social work. In August 2004, after serving 8 years, Marcus Webb walked out of Ely State Prison a free man. He was 27 years old. The first thing he did was visit his mother's grave. "I kept my promise, Mama," he said, kneeling at her headstone. "It took me a while, and I messed up bad, but I'm here, I'm better, I'm gonna make you proud." The second thing he did was travel to Los Angeles to visit Tupac's memorial at Forest Lawn Cemetery. He stood there for an hour, just talking to Tupac, thanking him, telling him what that phone call had meant, telling him about the promise he'd kept.
The Legacy. 2005, present day. Marcus Webb founded an organization called the Last Call Project, a nonprofit dedicated to mentoring at-risk youth and young offenders. The name came from Tupac's phone call, the last call, the final lesson. Marcus traveled to schools, juvenile detention centers, community centers. He told his story. He told Tupac's story. He told young people that one mistake doesn't define your whole life. By 2010, the Last Call Project had helped over 500 young people avoid incarceration through intervention programs. By 2015, Marcus had earned his bachelor's degree in social work, then his master's. By 2020, he'd published a book, 15 Minutes, What Tupac Taught Me in His Last Hours. The book detailed that phone call, the lessons Marcus learned, and how he'd spent the last 2 decades honoring Tupac's legacy by helping others. In 2023, Marcus gave a TEDx talk titled "The Phone Call That Saved My Life." In the talk, Marcus said, "Tupac Shakur spent his last night alive talking to a scared kid in a jail cell. He didn't have to do that. He could have spent that night partying, celebrating, living it up in Vegas. But instead, he chose to reach out to me, to tell me I mattered, to tell me my life wasn't over." 15 minutes later, he was shot. 6 days later, he was dead. He was 25 years old. But in those 15 minutes, he saved my life. Not just literally, by giving me hope when I had none, but spiritually, by showing me what legacy really means. Legacy isn't about how famous you are. It's not about how much money you make or how many awards you win. Legacy is about how you treat people when nobody's watching. It's about who you help when there's nothing in it for you. Tupac's last act on this earth was an act of kindness, of mentorship, of love. And for 27 years, I've been trying to honor that. Every kid I help, every life I touch, that's Tupac's legacy living on. The crowd gave Marcus a standing ovation. The reveal. A documentary crew contacted Marcus Webb. They wanted to make a film about his story and Tupac's final phone call. But there was a problem. Nobody could verify the call had actually happened. The prison's phone records from 1996 had been destroyed. There were no witnesses. Some people online started calling Marcus a liar, saying he made the whole thing up for attention. Marcus was devastated, not because people didn't believe him, but because he couldn't prove that Tupac's last act of kindness had happened. Then, in August 2024, something incredible occurred. A woman named Molly Brennan reached out to Marcus through his organization's website. I was Tupac's assistant in 1996, her message read. I was there the night he called you. I helped arrange that call, and I kept something that proves it happened. Marcus called her immediately. Molly was now in her 60s, living in Arizona, retired. She'd worked for Death Row Records for 3 years and had been with Tupac that last night in Vegas. I remember him reading your letter, Molly said. He was really moved by it. He insisted on calling you that night. Suge told him to wait, but Pac said no, it has to be tonight. I'll never forget that. It was like he knew. Do you really have proof? Marcus asked. I kept a copy of your letter. Tupac gave it to me after he read it and told me to file it. I kept it all these years. It has his handwriting on it, notes he made in the margins about what he wanted to say to you. Marcus couldn't speak. He was crying. 2 weeks later, Molly sent Marcus the letter, and there in Tupac's handwriting were notes. Tell him prison is just a place. Malcolm X transformation. Help someone else when you get out. Your life ain't over. The letter was authenticated by a handwriting expert. It was real. The documentary, titled The Last Call, premiered at Sundance Film Festival in January 2025. It told the complete story of Tupac's final phone call and Marcus Webb's transformation. At the premiere, Marcus stood on stage and said, "For 28 years, I've been telling this story, and some people believed me and some didn't. But it was never about whether people believed me. It was about honoring what Tupac did, about making sure his last act of kindness wasn't forgotten. Tupac could have spent his last night doing anything, but he chose to spend it helping me, a nobody, a kid who'd made terrible choices. And because of that choice, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm sober. I'm free. I've helped hundreds of other young people find hope. That's what 15 minutes of kindness can do. That's what one phone call can do. That's Tupac's real legacy. Not the albums, not the movies. This, connection, care, love." The documentary won the Audience Award at Sundance. It's now being taught in schools across America as an example of how one act of mentorship can ripple through decades.
Today, Marcus Webb is 47 years old. He's a licensed therapist, a published author, and a full-time activist working with formerly incarcerated individuals. The Last Call project has helped over 3,000 young people since its founding. Marcus personally mentors 20 young men at any given time, all of them facing the same choices he once faced. Every September 6th, the anniversary of Tupac's death and the phone call, Marcus visits Tupac's memorial. He brings letters from the young people he's helped. He reads them out loud. This is from Jamal, age 17. He was facing gang recruitment. Now he's in college studying engineering. This is from Dante, age 20. He was addicted to drugs. Now he's 2 years sober and working as a peer counselor. This is from Isaiah, age 16. He was expelled from school for fighting. Now he's a straight-A student who wants to be a teacher. Marcus reads letter after letter, all of them stories of transformation, all of them echoes of his own story. And then, at the end, Marcus always says the same thing. "Thank you, Pac, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself, for using your last night to save my life. I've kept my promise. I've helped others, and I'll keep helping others until my last breath. That's how I honored you. That's how I make sure you're never forgotten."
September 6th, 1996, 11 p.m. Tupac Shakur had 15 minutes before he'd be shot, before his life would be cut tragically short at 25 years old. He could have spent those 15 minutes anywhere, doing anything. He chose to spend them on the phone with a scared kid in a jail cell. And that choice, that single act of compassion, has echoed through nearly 3 decades. Marcus Webb isn't just alive because of that phone call. He's living. He's helping others live. He's creating ripples that will continue long after he's gone. That's legacy, not the platinum records or the movie roles or the headlines. Legacy is what you do when nobody's watching. Legacy is who you help when there's nothing in it for you. Legacy is 15 minutes that changes someone's life forever. Tupac Shakur died on September 13th, 1996, but his last lesson, his final act of kindness, lives on in Marcus Webb and every person Marcus has helped. That's immortality. That's love. That's Tupac. If this story moved you, if you believe in the power of mentorship and second chances, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to change. Comment below with your own stories of mentors who changed your life. And don't forget that notification bell for more untold stories of the moments that define us.